all doing? Welcome to another stream, and hope hope we're all doing okay. That was just the latest in the new sort of tunes that I've been trying to knock together for on Ableton. I quite like it. I quite like its vibes. It's a bit more chill. Um, I am extremely creaky today because uh, I was talked into going to the gym with a bunch of very muscly men who I know from swimming. Uh, I do a lot of swimming. I'm fine with swimming, but I never go to the gym. And they talked me into it, and I am absolutely I'm creaky as fuck now. Um, that's very nice, Ruckley. That's very kind of you. Before we start in the wine, I'll get a wee bit of background music going, and then we can get going with the stream. And we'll get the wine started. It's a vegan wine today, which is nice. All right. So here we go. Everyone's in. Everyone's ready. We've got some nice tunes on the go. Yeah. So let's get started, I guess, with the wine. We can't start with anything but the wine. I don't have any frozen grapes today, unfortunately. I had to take the frozen grapes out of the freezer because the freezer was getting too filled up, and apparently I made the executive decision that freezing grapes for a joke bit was probably less important than stuff that needs freezing. So the frozen grapes are long, unfortunately. Are long gone, unfortunately. So instead, we've just got some chilled wine, and today it was quite expensive. There wasn't much option in the Sainsbury's today, unfortunately. Everything was like either like £9 or like £5, and like I'm nearly 30. I feel like I might allow myself to be beyond £5, the cheapest Echo Falls wine. And it's disrespectful to you, the audience, if I just buy Echo Falls wine. Because, I respect you too much to just watch me drink the worst possible wine and have a terrible time. And I know that you don't want to see that, me just having a terrible time. So instead we've got this Vigna Sol vegan wine. And it is fresh, fruity, and dry. And it's in different language. Frisch, fruchtig, und trocken. Frias, frute, et sec. Just in case, for all the multilingual people in the audience. Not much saying about this. It says that we care for the earth. I will believe that when I see it. And it's 12% volume. Where's it from? I don't know where it's from, but it's wine, and we will test it. Is most wine not vegan? I think more so these days, but a lot of the time wine is filtered through, is it like egg whites or something? It's filtered through something that isn't vegan. So it's increasingly wine is vegan, but it's not like a rule, like it's to the extent that it's not a rule that they do need to label it when it is vegan. I don't think it's about the yeast. I think it's something in the filtration. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. We all know. No, this is a failure on my part as the sommelier. The fish scales to condition them. That's something. Yeah. As the sommelier, I should know this. Off the top of my head, of course. Alright. Smells like wine. Let's see if it tastes like wine. Tastes like wine. I'm not sure if it's good yet. Not sure if it's good yet. We'll see. We'll see how it continues on the palate as things go on. Cheers. The thing is, it doesn't have much flavour. It doesn't it doesn't have all that much flavour to it, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if it's good or bad. It's just we'll see. We'll see if it improves. Disappointing for it was £7.50 on deal down from £9.50, and I would expect more from that. That's what I'm saying. It's not bad, but I just expect more. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed in this wine. We will try to have a good time regardless. Have I ever played Disco Elysium? I have played it for about 10 minutes before I had to go away and do something, and then just never got back into it again. It's a game my flatmate's been trying to get me to play it for ages, because it's hello perplexed, because everyone says it's great and I like RPGs, so I imagine I will like it. But the next game on my list. So what what I have to do is finish Zelda. I'm not finished that yet, because it's really good and I don't want it to end. And I want to finish all the shrines and everything before I get to the end game. Then once I finish Zelda, then Baldur's Gate. My flatmate's just finished playing Baldur's Gate, and I do want to play that now. That will take me a long time to play because I don't play games all that much. So, welcome, Red Finian. We love to see it. So yeah, that's the next game I play, which I'm quite looking forward to. I was recording a bit for at like Sophie from Mars's place, and we were just talking about Degrowth, and I got this text from my flatmate just being like, Abby Thorne is in Baldur's Gate, and I was like, I know, man. I know. Has anyone played Baldur's Gate in the chat? Anyone been enjoying that little bit of D&D action? I should stream it out. I don't know how to stream it, because it's not a my flatmate has it on a PlayStation, so it's not like something that I can stream doing on my laptop there. I wanted to stream Zelda, but you have to like do particular setup to get like some like graphics capture card or something before you can do that. Because I thought that'd be a nice change of scene to do, but I don't know how to do it. I should figure that out, because I do actually think playing some streams might give a bit of variety to the streams, and a bit of chat when I can just fuck about and play some Zelda. Yeah, I mean, apparently my flatmate was saying it's just a massive game, and yeah, like I say, it will take me a long time to get through it because I don't play games like that. I don't focus in on them. I also recently downloaded Nintendo put up on their eShop a whole load of old N64 titles, including Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. I've not played Majora's Mask since I was like 10 years old, maybe younger. So I'm very excited to play Majora's Mask again. That'll have to come after Baldur's Gate. All these different things to do. So yeah. Not this week has been a strange week. I've just come out the other end of being harassed on TikTok by Americans who are very mad at me. And being harassed on TikTok is a very strange scenario. It's worse than the other places to get harassed. I think worse than Twitter, worse than YouTube. So I've just been like spent 3 days opening TikTok now and then, just being like just barrage of like abuse from really angry Americans. But that seems to be drawing to an end, which is nice. The wine is definitely valuable. More annoyingly, I did just get news that unfortunately the examiners I'd picked to examine my thesis, one of them had been rejected, which was annoying. So we've got to go through another person. Hopefully they're fine, but we'll see. What did I do to Americans? I made a joke about them. I didn't expect making a joke about Americans to set them off to such a degree. I had people like saying that making jokes about Americans is comparable, is xenophobic in a way that is implicitly comparable to racism, which is wild. wild. A wild thing to say. Weird place, TikTok. That you think you're just doing a little joke, and suddenly you've got hundreds of thousands of Americans being throwing abuse your way. Racism, yeah. I was trying to think, like, one of them was saying that they get slurs thrown at them because they're American, and I was just like, what slurs exist for American? What's the slur for American? Like, I just don't know what that could possibly be in reference to. Yank? I don't get it. Yeah. Filled with lots of very self-righteous people who have the thinnest skin possible, which is, fun for all involved. So that's the highlight of my week. Aside from getting physically, I'm not gonna phrase it like that because I know what you people are like. I was about to say physically destroyed by a bunch of muscly men in the gym. What I mean to say is doing too many bench presses with people who are much stronger than me has made my whole upper body so sore. Like, I can barely lift my arms above this level today. Yeah, red opinion. It's like I get it could be mean, and people can be mean, and sometimes mean jokes can be mean, but like the insistence that it's akin to racism and slurs is very, very, very funny. So yeah, that's about everything that's been. What else has been going on? I released a video. Forgot about that. I should probably talk about the video. So the video that was out last week or the week before was one that I didn't expect to do particularly well because it was kind of knocked together fairly quickly, and was pitched at quite a advanced level because it was assigned, it was adapted from a oh, congratulations, Louisa Ruth, that's very nice. No wine for you, but we cheers to you anyway. That's okay, Katie Marshall. I wasn't expecting it to do particularly well, and it's done okay, it's done better than I expected it to do. I will be trying to put out another similar sort of thing based on another conference paper that I did back in July, which is more abstract and more sort of dense than this one was. So that one will take a bit more work to adapt, but I'll try and get that one out soon as well. I'm still working on the public intellectuals one, but I want to take time with that because I want it to be good. I want it to be something. I want that one to be a good addition to the sort of YouTube ecosystem. So I'm taking my time with it. That's why I'm doing these, trying to do these smaller videos alongside it, and I'm working on another one right now based on the recent study that Jason Hickel did. Not Jason Hinkle, not Jackson Hinkle. Jason Hickel, who did a big sort of empirical study about the impossibility of green growth, and I want to do a little bit, like just a sort of 20-minute or so video on that. For some reason, drinking 2 nights in a row makes my heart want to explode. Not sure what's with that. It's because alcohol is a poison that's bad for us. I got a book from one of my friends about the alcohol industry, which included some grim facts about alcohol and its impact on the body. But you know, I'm built different. Public intellectuals are a fun topic. My base impulse is a seething hatred of them. Yeah, and it's really interesting, and a lot of the literature, interesting. It's obvious in the end of the day, but in a lot of the literature, the questions on public intellectuals, the sort of, a lot of the writing is like, we need new forms of public intellectuals. We need to reframe what it means to be a public intellectual, and all of that is about reframing what it means to be an academic. And like, maybe the idea of a public intellectual is good. We just need to refine it, which, you know, maybe none of them seem to countenance that maybe the notion of a public intellectual is not a good thing. Maybe it's not a particularly positive ideal to have a public intellectual, and it makes sense that academics would not want to write that maybe there shouldn't be such thing as a public intellectual, because a lot of their fucking reputation and their careers rest on the notion that public intellectualism is an innately valuable or useful thing to exist. And so I want to sort of delve into that, and I want to sort of talk about it as, you know, part of the YouTube sphere as well, and like the stuff that I do and how it sort of still reproduces the problematic and fundamentally reified capitalist notion of knowledge production, which is I don't know how to get around it. I don't think there is a possible way to get around it with existing on a platform that is fundamentally hugely capitalist. But I think it's something that's worth questioning, and I don't see many people actually getting into the nitty-gritty of what it actually means to exist as a public intellectual in a particular sense. And you know, the literature's been inadequate to me. I don't think it's been very good. But that's gonna take a little while to nail down the exact argument and the way I'm gonna present it in a way that's fun and entertaining for you guys. Yeah. Dom Jolly on LBC yesterday cited David Baddiel as an authority. I groaned and thought of your upcoming video. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how particular people get framed as these authorities and intellectual figures. It might be worth talking about that. You know, it's interesting. And the all the pitfalls of celebrity culture applies. Yeah, of course. And like, as soon as you make your living out of being a public intellectual, you are motivated to reproduce the things that put you there in the first place, which is, you know, obviously deeply skewed towards particular demographics. white men. And as of course it is that white men have not had it good enough for long enough, so we need to reproduce it to make sure that they have it good enough for longer enough. And that's the the role of the public intellectual. We need more degrowth and social ecology videos. Both me and Sophie from Mars will have ones coming out soon enough. So we're adding to the maelstrom of them. I had an interesting article. Someone on Blue Sky tagged me in, who'd come across me because of I was on the Left of Philosophy podcast talking about effective altruism this week. Which, if you haven't listened to, What's Left of Philosophy is a fun podcast, and we had a good time just ragging on effective altruism. Covering a lot of the similar ground to stuff that was covered in the video, but with a group of people, so we're all just collectively commiserating. Someone found my channel through that and found my degrowth video and wanted to write a critique of degrowth in an honest way, and it was really interesting because the first half of the critique is it's an honest assessment of degrowth, and then the second half is just pure anti-communism. The person's an overt ideologically committed liberal, and was just the only way to do this is communism, and it's evil and illiberal and antithetical to freedom. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. Isn't it good to have academics get people into science? Then I remember Jordan Peterson. Fucking yeah, Jordan Peterson, Steven Pinker, Richard Dawkins, all these people, public intellectuals, Sam Harris, publicly intellectual purveyors of fucking eugenics, race science, anti-Islamic hatreds, and American imperialism. That's the public intellectual for you. It's on the effective altruism stuff. I still find it so funny. I like to call them influencers. Yeah, that is good. It's still so funny to me that the blurb for McCaskill's books still includes Peter Singer. One of the world's foremost ableist philosopher. Horrendous, not to mention transphobia, yeah, of course. Horrendous piece of shit. So ableist. It also includes Sam Harris, famous for appearing on Charles Murray's podcast and defending Charles Murray for his work, his discredited fucking modern day caliper race science work. And just happy to pal around with these guys. And it's for a person and a project that is so concerned with marketing and the appearances that they put out for most appeal, they are just McCaskill is so excited to be associated with Peter Singer and Sam Harris, which is Red Vegan Punk, Peter Singer. I don't know if Peter Singer's transphobic. That was a slip into someone else. But he's mostly known for being the two things he's known for: horrendous ableism and animal welfare. That's his sort of biggest contributions to the world. Yeah, he's a real sack of shit. I think like Steven Pinker is the most the most public intellectual looking public intellectual. Like his whole thing with his crazy public intellectual hair and his suits and the way he talks, his academic positionality, giving him some level of legitimacy. He's the most public intellectual I think around, and yet he just talks absolute unfiltered nonsense, complete abject bullshit. It's amazing. And he was also in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book, which if you mention to him, he immediately blocks you. I am indeed blocked by Steven Pinker, which is very funny. Highlights from the clip are pretending colonialism basically didn't exist and saying that preemptive invasions used to happen and now they no longer do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Brandon Saffield saying, I read Singer's book Ethics in the Real World in the summer. Kind of shit. Had the ableism, had the animal rights. Also, half of it was endorsing effective altruism. That's what it is. Like, it is just bullshit. And would it be better if public intellectuals had to wear a silly costume? I think it'd be funny if anyone declared themselves, or if we suspect that they're trying to declare themselves as public intellectuals, then they have to wear silly costumes. Yeah, they've got to wear like big pantaloons, and maybe like a Jacobean ruff. Make them dress like Shakespeare. I think that's the only thing that we should do. If anyone is labelled or gets labelled as a public intellectual, then they've got to dress like Shakespeare. I think that would solve the problems pretty quickly. Having listened to your critique of EA, what your views on ultimate moral value are? What are your views on what's the ultimate moral? I don't think I have a view on what an ultimate moral value is. I don't think I have such a view. It's not something that I'm particularly concerned about in my work or in my life. So I'm not sure I do have a view of of like an ultimate moral value. Jordan Peterson already dresses in bad suits. I think importantly, if we're going to dress them as Shakespeare, they all have to be really badly fitting costumes as well, so no one accidentally looks cool. Because we don't want to make someone accidentally look kind of sick. We want to make sure that they are ridiculed. Do I think we don't need an ultimate moral value? I'm not sure. I don't necessarily think so. And I don't like as sort of materialists and like historical materialists, we accept that moral values are products of the particular social conditions and relations of the worlds in which we live. So an ultimate and transhistorical moral value is not something that I think we as, and I don't know if you are, but myself and people who I would associate with my particular politics, is not something that we as Marxists or we as communists should be aspiring to. Like a transhistorical ideal is somewhat antithetical to Marxist prescriptions. Not even prescriptions, just Marxist analysis, really. Like we could declare there's a particular moral value that we think is incredibly important to us in this moment or in this time. But as soon as it becomes like a base, ultimate moral value upon which everything rests, then it sort of become difficult to hold on to. I don't know if it's either, Dion. I don't know if we can fit these things neatly into these sort of like philosophically, this sort of canon of philosophical notions of deontological or consequentialist. I don't think the ideas necessarily fit neatly into one category or another there, which is probably why a lot of the time isn't that declaration of moral value though? I mean, that to me sounds kind of semantic at the end of the day. Is the declaration that there isn't a need for a trans-historical moral value, isn't that a moral value in itself? Is like, you get similar arguments in human rights where people talk about, there's no one human right because there's no one way of describing human rights. Because like there's different cultural expressions of things and different places and different needs, and then people would be like, that notion of like not needing it is still trans-historical to some degree, and I'm not necessarily sure I buy that. We ought to have this historical view. I don't know if we ought to have this historical view. I just think it is I just think it's a correct analysis of history. I don't think it's something that's ought to or not. Should we be correct about our analysis? Seems like not a particularly valuable or meaningful moral value. And framing it as a moral value doesn't seem to be particularly helpful, I guess. I'm not sure particular ultimate moral values are all that helpful to the project. As ought to, if we want to be right, not the same. I just don't think it's a particularly valuable moral value to be like to say that there's no necessarily ultimate moral value because history morals are dictated by the conditions of history. I don't think that could reasonably or helpfully be described as a moral or ethical view. I would have to. This is sort of slowly diving into a degree of questioning that I'm not sure I have the capacity to answer without like writing out my thoughts. But it's an interesting sort of area of inquiry, and it does get to that sort of interesting divergence between the sort of ethical socialists and the what was at the time sort of understood as scientific socialists, this which gets misunderstood these days as being like science as in the way that effective altruists might conceive of science as like testing and very uber rational, when it's like meant to be set up in opposition to this this ethical socialist type of view. But I think that's like this sort of question does get into the line of that divergence, which is interesting and worth poking into. And there's a fair amount of very, especially historical sort of research and writing on the difference between ethical and scientific socialism and the Marxist versus the previously often young Hegelian views of socialism driven by often moral values. I hope that's helpful at all. I enjoy talking about this with a glass of wine because it makes me feel sophisticated and smart, when really I'm fumbling my way in the dark like the rest of us. Oh yeah. How about what our prime minister was talking about in his speech earlier this week? Um, yeah, that's depressing. Um, for anyone who doesn't know, earlier this week, our prime minister decided that he was going to abandon any firm attempts to reach net zero emissions by 2050, because he's got to focus on long-term goals, not short-term politics. And the long-term goals aren't trying to avert the catastrophe of the environment, but trying to make sure that the economy grows as much as possible. And we need to invest more in oil, to do that, which is really great. It's really great stuff. Doesn't fill me with existential dread in any way. But I think it is it's worth. Some of this stuff is, I think, it's obviously the product of particular capital interests wanting to make sure that they maintain their power. But sort of on the ideological level of it, the notion that we can achieve a green growth, where the UK has the biggest decoupling of growth and emissions of any country in the world, and that includes in some of the stuff that's been exported. It doesn't include things like the cost of transporting goods, the environmental cost of transporting goods, but it doesn't include a lot of the exported production and things like that. The biggest divergence between growth and emissions, meaning that there's been an absolute decoupling, and a lot has been made of this as if this decoupling means that the UK is being environmentally friendly, which it doesn't. Obviously, we're still not on track to reach any of our targets, and indeed now abandoning the targets. But the notion, I think this is why the green growth notion is particularly dangerous, is because it allows these people, like the Prime Minister, to be like, oh yeah, we're the environment's fine, we're doing the decoupling, so we're just doing the growth. The growth is the important thing. It's bad. It's not nice, not exciting. I'm new to the socialist movement. What would you say are the best pieces of literature to get into everything? Oh, that's a big question. Let me have a think of that while I change up the music and pour myself another wine, and I'll get back to you in 2 minutes, because I don't know at this moment. Okay. So, someone was asking a question about. Yeah. So some like. Yeah. To echo what is being said by some people, I think there's correct. People are correct here that getting actually involved in a movement or with local anything that's around in your area and in an area in which you're interested in. So whether that's a renters' rights, housing rights group, whether that is a union group or such and such, is immensely more important than necessarily getting your theoretical reading done first, but I don't think that means that we can that there's no reason to recommend what are, I think, useful and accessible places to begin. The difficulty, I think the main thing that I would recommend would be to try and find a place for a reading group to get involved, because a lot of the time when we introduce people to reading, like there really is no easy and accessible, like innately accessible point into like critique of like capitalism. There's like lots of books that are like that are valuable entry points in some ways. Like I've not read it, from what I've heard, Lost in Work by Amelia Horrigan is a very good introductory place for some like basic arguments of basic anti-capitalist arguments. For my money, the book Social Reproduction Theory, which everyone knows I love, but Tithi Bhattacharya edited volume, is a very good place to start, even though a lot of the arguments in that and a lot of the language in that might be difficult to grasp the first time. My main recommendation would be then less which book that you go for or which piece of like writing that you want to get to grips with most, but how you read it. I would be to try and find some group, some reading group, some other people who would be interested in learning more, that you can, you know, get involved in reading stuff with. And there's like a lot of the stuff that exists on YouTube is really good introductory stuff for people who want to learn more about some very basic concepts for like socialists, anti-capitalist sort of stuff. And if anyone, I don't know how many people do this, but anyone who's valuable in the movement will have some degree of bibliography where you can like read more on the stuff that they've talked about. I have bibliographies to all of my videos, which if you're particularly interested in, you can always go back and you can always look at and try and read some of the stuff that looks interesting to you. You should not be concerned about not understanding everything that's in a piece of writing the first time you read it, and probably if you think you understand everything that's in a piece of writing the first time you read it, you're probably not trying hard enough to grasp what's actually being said, because a lot of the time this stuff is really difficult to grasp. But yeah, I would say less in terms of actual books. My recommendation is about finding people to read with together, and you know, to echo what people are saying, to try and find an area to get involved in. And Geode, I'm not sure it's particularly helpful to say to people, if you don't know what it is, why would you want to get involved? Because people will get interested and invested in left-wing politics for a number of reasons. Oftentimes, if it's a reaction to something shit that's happened in their life, whether that's a landlord or a boss or any number of things, or like lack of welfare, lack of ability to access food or heat their house, that gets people interested in notions of being like, what, something's actively wrong here, and they want to get involved with something that's changed and they've heard this word. I think it's good for someone to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like this is the correct path to go down. I think that the only reaction to that is encouragement. I would encourage anyone who says that they don't know, like, if they don't know what they're thinking about it, if they don't know where to start, always encourage them. Like there are any number of like introductions to Marx, an introduction to Marx books about reading Capital books, all that stuff. Any number of them. Pluto Press is a good place to go for lots of very accessible works. They publish Amelia Horgan's book. They publish a lot of stuff that is just accessible and very readable and often very short. If you're looking for just things to read, and yeah, again, lots of stuff on YouTube. Lots of is good. You've got to be careful because people do talk shite, but people talk shite in fucking academia as well. But there's places to start and things to do. The left has plenty of people who have read a lot of literature. We need people who can get involved in praxis. This is one of the people who's all reading and no praxis. So grain of salt. Yeah, I mean, look. So here's a story. I'm gonna pour myself some wine first. So, during the last university and colleges strikes, there were so many stories of people breaking the picket lines, professors, academics breaking the picket lines, and often in those cases it was people who had professed left-wing politics, people whose work is studying like labour relations or union activism and professed some degree of fellow travelling with the research that they're promoting, and talked about how their research is part of the struggle, and they broke picket lines because for them the intellectual work is more important than the sort of basic work of labour organising, and that is, I think, a result of people being too invested in reading and not enough in praxis. And I'm guilty of that as well. I love reading. I love making my little videos. I try to do as much as I can, get involved as much as I can, when I can, because it's like fucking my research wouldn't have happened if I wasn't actively involved in some groups. Like, it would be a shadow of what it is if I wasn't doing active work and hadn't been involved in stuff. And that's the same with the stuff that happens in the channel, because that stuff creates knowledge as much, if not more, than people who just sit and think about things. Again, as someone who likes to just sit and think about things. So yeah, I echoing that point as well from Ruckley. Have I read Singer's very short introduction to Marx? I have not. Anytime I've read a liberal view of Marx, it's always been it's never been satisfactory. They've never understood what the actual point being made is, and maybe that's not the case with Singer because, you know, I've not read it, but like I'm less interested in reading what Singer thinks about Marx than reading what people who spend their like time. Like I've got a book that I've been meaning that's like an introduction to reading Capital that's got a bunch of interesting people, including Federici, that I'm really excited to get to, because I think they can say interesting stuff, conflicting stuff, but interesting stuff. And I'm not sure that would be the case with someone like Singer, who I do not trust to produce interesting content, interesting analytical content on the work of Marx. I simply do not trust him to do that, and I have limited time. Maybe that's intellectually dishonest of me. You know, there's lots of good stuff to read. I've got to make my choice. Maybe I'll read it someday if someone convinces me. I will never buy it. I will download it for free off of a legal website, as you all should. Did I miss some Marx? Yeah, I mean, we're like in the area where I'm fairly convinced a lot of people who spend their entire careers on Marx don't really fully understand what's being talked about. A good toilet book. Okay, sure. So we've got a good review in there. Maybe at one point I'll read it and critique it for a book review on Patreon or something. I've got one book that I got sent. Where is it? I got sent. 1 second. I got an email from Penguin Publishers a few weeks ago, and they're just like, "Hey, we've got this new translation coming out. Would you like to read this?" And of this book. I don't know why. I suspect just because I have a somewhat sizable social media following. But I'm quite excited to read this because it's something that is not my area at all. It's not like something that's connected to my academic research or my public persona. And I've never heard of the author before. There seems to be a bit of like philosophy about what it means to be human, which I think is quite fun. So I'm quite looking forward to reading this. This is going to be one. At the moment, I'm reading. I need to finish. I've been rereading Eric Williams' Capitalism and Slavery because I've been reading W.E.B. Du Bois's Black Reconstruction. I thought that would be good to read those two together. So I've got to finish that. Then I want to read Family Abolition. I've got a book on human rights that I want to read. Then maybe I'll get to this. There's so much that I want to read. Oh, hi, Sinan. How's it going? That I've been trying to sort of get through. And like, since I'm in this stage where the PhD is basically done, awaiting Viva, I actually have a bit more time than I did a few months ago, so I can catch up on a bunch. I've got so much to do, so much to catch up on. Started writing a new paper today. I lost track of what I was talking about. Yeah. Anyone remind me what we were talking about there? We were talking about recommendations for things to read. Just got done being the bad guys in Lord of the Rings. Fun. We've got everyone go follow SK the Crusader. We are doing a session 0 for a D&D. I think it's going to be a stream that Sinan is going to be putting on. So we're doing a session 0 for that tomorrow and just testing things out, see if everything's good. And so we'll keep you posted about the format that D&D stuff will take, and it should be fun. I've got quite a fun character, I think, a bit different from other characters that I played on D&D, so I'm quite looking forward to that. Follow SK the Crusader on YouTube and Twitch. It's gonna be a stream on Twitch, but Sinan also makes videos here. Yeah, we'll be doing that on Twitch, so sign up for that. Will my dissertation be available for free anywhere? Yes. So once it goes through the Viva, which is the process of being questioned on it by two examiners, defending it basically, and I get confirmation that is acceptable, and probably if I have corrections, once I've done the corrections, then I will, and once it's all done, I will be posting it to Patreon, and I will be sending it to basically anyone who wants it. So if anyone wants to DM me once that's done, I'll post about it. And I will basically just send anyone who wants it a copy. It will also be available through the British Library portal. The British Library holds all PhDs that are completed in the UK. So you can just find them all there in a portal, and it should be up on there as well. So there'll be a bunch of options, but basically if you want to just fucking DM me and I'll send it to you, because I didn't spend 4 years writing this thing for no one to read it. Yep, LibGem, Library Genesis, Sci-Hub, also good. Z Library, still up. These things for free. If I would not have been able to do any of the work I do on this channel, or any of the academic work I do, without LibGem, without Sci-Hub, and without Z Library, without pirating books, simply would not happen. It would be literally impossible. So if you're looking for books and you can't afford to buy books all the time, use them. They are immensely useful, and it's morally good to stop academic publishers getting money. The royalties that academics get from their books, not even worth thinking about. Almost every academic will be like, yeah, I'll just give you a PDF of my book. I don't give a fuck, because nobody makes any money from them anyway. I'll let you know. I'll be clear on when it's fully done. The only reason I'm not sort of giving it out willy-nilly right now is just because I think it's for myself, I think I'd be more comfortable waiting until I know that other people have been like, the other experts in the field have been like, this is an acceptable piece of work. So that's why I'm not giving it out yet. I'm just waiting. Basically, it's no other reason except that for my comfort of knowing that I've produced something that is valuable and legitimate, that other people should read. Z Library. Library with a Z. Hello, Only Uke Matters. How's it going? Free access to literature is a very necessary thing. Never let them die. It absolutely is. I mean, I'm fully on the anti-copyright train. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I'm so I'm really excited to read Family Abolition. I wanted to read more. I want to read more on it. It's one of those ideas that is intuitively, a lot of people are intuitively against it, but for me it just intuitively makes sense. So I want to read
more about it to try and give my intuition a bit more form. But yeah, I'm excited about that. It's the similar thing with like school abolition, and I read this like bizarre book about called Deschooling Society that was written in the 70s. See you later, son, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. It was called Deschooling Society, and it was a bizarre book. It was for a number of reasons. Like it was written in like the 70s or 1970s, so it was probably written at the tail end of the 60s. And it was just interesting in the form that academic books took back in the day, or they could take back in the day, because there were no references in this book. There was no there were a bunch of claims that were completely unreferenced. Things that were like, in the medieval era, people didn't have a concept of childhood, which is why all of the paintings were children looked like adults. And I'd like written in the margins, because my partner's an art historian, and I'd written in the margins, I was like, isn't this just for Jesus? Isn't this specifically because of the notion that Jesus was fully formed when he emerged from the womb? That's why he, specifically Jesus, looks like a little man, looks like Toby Jones. And I was asking my partner about it, and she was like, yeah, that's why that is. It's nothing to do with what he was talking about. And I was like, yeah, I thought so. And the other thing that he said was, that I remember off the top of my head, was previously, the idea of people being academic, existing in the theological realm, meant that they lived like lives of abject poverty. And I was just like, I just don't think that's right. There's no reference to point to like look up to justify it. So it's just like saying shit, and like it's just it was just bizarre. And there's like other bizarre things, like he seemed to like grasp. He had like moments of incisiveness where he grasped the problem of and the historical specificity of schooling, in that like it is a particular social arrangement of education that doesn't need to be the only social arrangement of education, but he didn't seem to be able. The way the solutions were weirdly like. They were neoliberal, in that he specifically referenced Milton Friedman, and how Milton Friedman promoted education as like this sort of marketizable credit system. And this was like the days prior to neoliberalism being a largely dirty word, because of Thatcher and Reagan. This is when it was just sort of making its long march through the institutions. Which is like interesting as like a historical point for neoliberalism, but frustrating if you want to get a bit of literature that really grasps with the notion of school abolition. And it was like the book was just filled with all these little things that were like really frustrating, and like grasping that something was wrong, but not being able to fully reckon with what was wrong and fully come up with something different and something interesting. And yeah, so there's I lose track of what I was talking about, but that was annoying. Yeah, Giga Chad Jesus. Like he walked out that womb, walked out that immaculate vagina, and was just fully a man, was fully blessing people, could talk. He was say what you like about Jesus, he was a solid baby, fucking abs and all. He could probably bench more than me, even as a baby. That's Jesus, fucking shredded baby Jesus. Imagine being born an adult but small. I mean, it's just Benjamin Button, isn't it? Benjamin Button's just like Jesus. Let's switch up the music, and then we can chat about something else. Apologies, trying to get the timing right.
Alright, where were we? Anything interesting going on? Nice to see you here as Innocent Fugitive. What have we been chatting about? Anything interesting going on? We've been talking about, did a bit of talk about effective altruism, a bit of talk about books and introductory points for people to get into like socialist thought, the value of praxis in that. I went on a wee rant about a book I read on school abolition that was bad. We talked a bit about like the sweaty 90s movie with Agnes Vogt. Thanks. I'm not even that sweaty, I'm just quite shiny. The villain's always fun, always more fun in a 90s movie. I'm sad that you missed them, but I'm glad that you enjoyed them enough. Critical Report. The vibe of the music is also kind of like, it also feels kind of 90s movie as well, doesn't it? Yeah, I think everyone's been having a nice time. I was talking about being harassed on TikTok by Americans as well. And we talked about the last video. How many folk are here? What are we doing for concurrent viewers right now? 32, not bad. Yeah, anything else anything on anyone's mind? Was I meaning to get back to a question? I feel like I was meaning to talk about something. Excuse me. But haven't gotten around to actually talking about it yet. How often do I stream? Normally it's every 2 weeks. I was due to stream last week, but I'd somehow gotten into do it somehow last week. I don't know how it happened. I ended up being like busy every evening last week, and then Thursday was the only night that I wasn't like doing something, and I was too shattered to stream. So normally it's every 2 weeks. I say that, but it tends to fail. But we try and do it every 2 weeks on a Thursday. Talked about any strike stuff. Which strike stuff? UCU's got some strike planning going on, maybe, and there's the SAG-AFTRA stuff, which I hear is a closing in on a deal, which would be, that's something. A wee deal would be nice as long as they don't get fucked. Yeah, there's a lot of strike action going on right now. I don't know if it's worth talking about the my union UCU stuff, which is always causing people immense annoyance because of friction with the leadership, who tend to run the union like a social media platform, which people don't quite like. So I don't know if we're actually planning on going on strike yet. There's been communication with that. What I will say is this wine is tasting better the more I drink it, so that's something. Another, I will be going on, as we were talking about things to read, and I will be going on Elliot Says Hello stream on Tuesday at 9 o'clock UK time. Sorry, I just saw a text from my supervisor, which was making fun of my liberal use of the word hegemony, which, he's correct.
yeah. So we talking about that. Talking about advice for reading and books and stuff. I think, and stuff about degrowth as well. I've not come across Elliot Says Hello before, but he had lots of mutuals who I trust, so I'm assuming that he's a good guy through that. But no, but we'll be talking about that on Tuesday, I believe. Doesn't all wine taste better by the end of the bottle? Absolutely not. Look, I've drank a lot of wine in my time. Sometimes by the end of the bottle, you're just like, please, it's like an endurance challenge. You're like, I don't want to open another one because that's a waste. But sometimes it's just like, it's so acidic. Sometimes it's so bad it just like sits in your throat and you're like, I don't want to drink this. I drank a lot of wine on stream where I've been having that exact reaction. So, the ethnographic perspective from chat should confirm that indeed sometimes the wine doesn't taste better at the bottom of the bottle. But this one's sitting quite nicely. So maybe this on deal £7.50 wine was okay. What do I think of some of the biggest gaps between political theory and action are the things that have been solved in theory but we still mess up in practice all the time? I mean, I'm not necessarily sure I understand the question. 100% understand the question, but I think that, I mean, we've solved the issue that, like, quite theoretically, that capitalism is bad and is fucking us. Like, theoretically, we know that global warming is a direct result of capitalist extraction and the pursuit of profit. But we've not solved it yet. I think basically any left-wing political question is not solved praxeologically because we haven't won, which is sad. I wish we had. I'm not a pessimist in that regard. I don't think it's because these things are insurmountable. But so far we haven't. The revolution hasn't happened, and we haven't won. Despite a lot of us knowing what needs to happen to some degree. I don't know how to answer that question more insightfully, I'm afraid. The thing about, like, winning left-wing, methods that work. I mean, like, I don't know how. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure how much I can answer the question. I think that the methods that we employ, strikes, direct action, are basically the methods that we need to employ. I think there are structural and, I guess, praxeological barriers at this point in actually doing it. But the actual methods of striking, I think I can give you one example where maybe the method
doesn't, where the method doesn't match up with the theory. And I think that might be in regard to, in like large scale unions. So things like Unite, Unison, big unions in the UK, GMB is a particularly bad example, where the notion of being in a union and striking is known as a way of building collective class power. But the way that these unions have been, more so GMB than any of the others, but to some extent the others as well, and to some extent the union movement in general in the UK, has been brought into, subsumed within capital, and how it organises the labour movement. That is, a lot of the big unions organise the labour movement as an individualistic way of doing, legalistic tribunals, fighting for very minimal workers' rights issues that are less about like organising the working classes and more about winning policy. And I think that's maybe the biggest gap between modern theory and praxis, because we know that the only way to properly win real material victories is to organise the working classes and those who are unable to work, those who are excluded from work because of capitalism's creation of disability on top of impairments. But the labour movement doesn't seem that interested in organising, and I mean like in the institutional labour movement doesn't seem all that interested in organising such groups as classes, and is more interested in organising them as individuals litigating points against their employers. And it's not as if like employment tribunal casework isn't important. It is. But it's that stuff is a day-to-day, case-by-case basis, which does not and cannot necessarily lead to any sustained revolutionary action. And the purpose of the trade union groups, and this is like a long-standing critique, stuff like, Gramsci talks about this a lot in his critique of the union as, part of hegemonic action. Althusser talks about unions being part of ideological state apparatuses. Good case for the IWW. It is a good case for the IWW. It's a good case for lots of more radical unions that aren't as big. And it's a good case for other stuff that is institutionalized union movements. Frankly, I think in terms of the UK, there is no possibility of a really organised labour movement. There is no possibility of organised oppressed classes while unions are affiliated to the Labour Party. I am sure that's the case, and I think lots of people are, but that's not something that that we've solved yet in terms of praxis. And part of that is because by becoming embroiled in capital relations, the big unions have got themselves into very cushy positions. Some unions are incredibly rich, but they're not powerful. They don't organise. They could be. They have the potential to be, but they're not, because of the comfortable position that they're in. So I think that would be that's the most immediate example that jumps to my head when we're talking about a difference between something we know theoretically and something that is not caught up praxeologically.
and as ever, it is a result of capital logics infecting this sort of area of insecting here, this area of radicalism. The reason there's an insect in here, by the way, there shouldn't be an insect in here, but the reason there's an insect in here is because the cat has destroyed the mosquito netting that I put above my window by trying to jump through it and then jump next door, because the cat is an insane person who exists to cause me stress. Am I going to the World Transformed? I am going to the World Transformed, yes. I will be there, I think, a couple of other folk. Sophie from Mars will be there. Mooncat will be there as well. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be darting about the place. I enjoy World Transformed less for the actual panels and more just because it's like an opportunity to meet up with folk I've not seen for ages, or even just folk who are mutuals online that I've never met, and chat with them. We're just making the last glass of wine, a big glass of wine. Geo, lots of people have say this to me, like that. One of the most consistent comments I get is people saying I should go on the deprogram pod. I would happily go on if they asked me. It's really fun. It's interesting how many people talk about that specific podcast more than others. Happily, if anyone, if they asked me to go on, I'd go on in a heart. I enjoy going on podcasts. I have too many friends who have podcasts who have not invited me for a while that I'm raging about it. That's a proper glass of wine. That's right. They have slanted windows and no idea how to catproof them. They will definitely tear out anything. It like, I don't know what it is. The cat gets these like notions in his head, things that he insists on doing. Previously, I had this little little cat Christmas decoration. It was a little fluffy Christmas decoration that my mum got me a few years ago, and Anton decided that he was going to destroy it. And what he'd do is he'd run into the room and he'd go directly for it. Like he wouldn't pause to look around, he wouldn't just sniff about, he would run directly for it. And I would hide it in different places, and he'd run to where it used to be, then he'd look around and find it. And then he eventually destroyed it when the door got left open one day, and I became back to just this murder scene of fluff. And then the latest one is this window, which he's decided that he needs to jump out of. And it's not like he's just decided once or twice to do it. He will now just run through the room, jump on the desk, and try and get out through the window, because it's his new obsession. Absolutely hyper fixated on getting out the window, through the mosquito netting, and over into next door's balcony, while they have this giant XL bully dog, who seems like a lovely dog. I want to rub his face, but I don't know, if I was a cat, I'd be worried about it. I don't know how to deal with it. He's got an obsession. He gets these obsessions. A strange animal. When gulls land on my roof, my cats go berserk in windows. Typical Cameron. I really like seagulls. I've been meaning to get. So one day when I can afford to do it, I want to get two type 2 tattoos. One I want to get on like here, which is of a. Let me find a picture of it. I'll find a picture of what I want to get a tattoo of. So I want to get the thing that I'm finding right now, and I also want to get 2 seagulls, like somewhere else, maybe on like a shoulder or on the other arm, because recently my grandmother died, and thus both my grandparents have died that I knew, and when they were, they both basically like looked after seagulls. They fed seagulls in their home for their whole lives. They had 2 that they called Napoleon and Josephine, and like well after they were able to live on their own up in the islands, and they stayed down with us, we would sometimes go back to Shetland, and we'd come into their house, and as soon as we arrived, the seagulls would come back because they expected being fed. It was amazing, and my granny would still feed them lard and bread. And even when we were up again for the funeral, the seagulls were back, just searching for food. And so if my granny could ever be reborn, I imagine she'd be reborn as a scory, a seagull. And I think it'd be nice to get like 2 seagull, like little like sort of minimalist seagull tattoos. I think that'd be quite nice. And the other one is this spear that was found in place, an old archaeological site called Skatness, which was originally Pictish, and then after that Viking and so forth. And at one point they found a carving of a bear, which was really rare for Shetland because they didn't have any bears in Shetland, and they didn't think until they found this that there was any active trade between like the Scottish mainland and the Shetland Islands, which are like halfway between Scotland and Norway. And then they found this bear, and it like so yeah, that's a part of my part of the ideas I have. Sorry, there's no audio there. I will explain that again with audio. Okay. So yeah. I realized my audio was off there. Yeah. So basically, I wanted to get this. Yeah, I realized I forgot that the audio was different on the different settings. Basically, wanted to get this. I'll explain that again because I don't know when I cut off. So there's a site in Shetland called Skatness, which is archaeological site. First, it goes back like about 3,000 years. First occupied by Picts, and which is the name for like the loosely accumulated like tribes that occupied Scotland. They weren't like a firm social group, but they were like an accumulation of various tribes. And then it was occupied by Vikings, and this bear was found while they were Muckleflugga. Muckleflugga is funny. Yeah, Muckleflugga is funny. There's also Twat near Fora Twat, which is what my grandmother's maiden name was I think Twat. We have lots of Twat relatives, which is just funny. It's just funny. Yeah. So there's this dig when they were digging out the new runway for the airport, and they found this archaeological site with a broch, which is like a defensive structure that you only really get around Scotland, and a village around it. And this bear image was interesting for archaeology because previously they didn't think that there was any connection, any trading route between, or a firm trading route between Scotland and the mainland and Shetland. The Shetland Islands are between Norway and Scotland, halfway between. And there are no bears on Shetland. So what this proved is that there must have been trading connection there much earlier than had previously been thought. And so I wanted to get this sort of design tattooed because firstly it's fucking cool. It's just a cool design. And secondly, since both my grandparents are now died, there is no like firm connection between myself and the islands, and I just think it'd be nice to have that sort of connection there because it's a place we've been going to since I was born. There's a photo of me when I was like 6 weeks old going on the boat up there. So I think it'd be nice to get that and to get like a wee sort of minimalist seagull tattoo up as well. So yeah, those are the two things that I would like to get. At some point when I can afford them. Oh, your mum worked on that dig. That's cool. That's cool, Elizabeth. We used to go there. We used to go there every year and like do the fun. Like they always had people dressing up in like Viking garb. Yeah. If a bear could swim from mainland Scotland to Shetland, it would be a powerful bear. Yeah, so I think that would be a cool thing to get like on my there on the wrist. I was thinking like the seagulls would be like more good to be on like the shoulder there. I'm still afraid of how they're going to be sorted, and also they're expensive. But one day we'll get there. And also, like, my mum would disapprove, but I think she would actually quite like the stories of those. So maybe she wouldn't disapprove of those. Yeah, it was a really fun place to go when we were a kid because they had all the guides were dressed up in like Viking gear. All the men who worked there had like big long hair, big beards, and they would do like coin minting, and they would make like jewellery. They would play like games that they'd sort of picked up from the Viking era, and we basically seen that site get progressively like revealed over the course of my life because we were there every year. and it's like interesting to see the new. Every year there was a new discovery until they stopped like excavating because for a number of reasons. Polar bears can swim, but large seals are tad inhospitable. It's less the inhospitability and more like it takes 14 hours in the ferry to get from Aberdeen to Lerwick. That's the main issue. Louise Ruth, yeah, same thing. I lack the money, but I also lack the bravery. I'm worried about how they would hurt. Alright, shall we change up the tracks? And let's do something a bit more funky, a bit more upbeat. I made myself slightly sad, so we're going to do something a bit upbeat. Alright. Yeah, that's quite fun. I quite like that. Making on-stream music on-stream is a whole other level of chill. Yeah, this is the whole, we're here to chill. This is the chill zone. The content of the videos is often so unchill that we just need the chill zone for some wine, for some relaxing, and for some tunes. And only occasionally do I get worked up about a TV show that I've seen. Buff Jesus is such an interesting. I find Buff Jesus is less funny than the Toby Jones looking Jesus is. I'm gonna bring up some more images. Let's do a tour of Jesus. Let me get some Jesus up. Okay, so we can all still hear. So get the bear away. Let's do a wee look at medieval Jesus.
medieval baby Jesus. Let's be accurate with our search terms. There we go. Here's one. Look at this guy. That's the man. That guy has a mortgage. That guy has a mortgage and 2 kids who cause him so much stress. That is a fucking bank manager. That Jesus. Let's see. Let's find another one. Oh my God. Good Lord. That is a stressed out Jesus. That Jesus is having a bad time. I'm looking for a Toby Jones Jesus. That is an image of Guy Fieri as Jesus. Which is not what I was looking for, but boy am I glad I found it. Guy Fieri Jesus. Look, I don't know how we've got to this position, but I don't think I want to ever look at another image again except Guy Fieri Jesus. How could anyone want to look at any other image except Guy Fieri Jesus? Welcome to Flavortown. Population, you're blessed. You're blessed to be here. Look how unhappy Mary is to be. Like, I was promised the Son of God, not the Son of Flavortown. I don't know what happened here. I don't know why. The Google search is literally medieval baby Jesus, and Guy Fieri is like the 4th line down on this. I just want to find Toby Jones Jesus. Good Lord, there are some bad Jesuses in here. There are some bad ones. Oh, I could be the Madonna easily. That's what the Madonna's like, just... The most accurate picture of Jesus, exactly. Wonder what happens if I type in Toby Jones Jesus. It's just pictures of Toby Jones. No pictures of baby Jesus. Oh, good Lord, there are some bad pictures of Toby Jones here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's a baby Jesus and a half. That's a very coquettish Jesus. That's a Jesus that's like, oh, look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. That's you know, what am I like? That's what that baby Jesus is. How have we got here? Oh good Lord. Yeah, that one's not fitting on the screen.
This is the rest of the stream, I'm afraid. We are just looking at baby Jesus from now on. God, there are some bad images here. Oh my God, look at the shredded Jesus. Come on, let me show us the shredded. How do you expand this? There we go. Now that is a shredded Jesus. Look at that. That is you could grate cheese on those baby abs. Now that's the Son of God. Now that's the Son of God. And look at Mary. Mary's also like, ooh. I don't know why we're on to this. I don't know what's happened here. This is just everything. This is everything that I need right now. There's something about like the disco music in the background that makes this even, I guess worse, but in my mind better. But this like soggy ab Jesus is like, yeah, I mean, if you gave birth to that, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on? If this slithered out of you, you'd be like, why is my weirdly, you know what it is? Why is baby Jesus spent so much time on abs and no other part? No other part of his body, just abs. He's just interested in the abs. He needs to work on his other groups. I'm going to stick on this image for about 10 more seconds before I think it might actually worm its way into my head and cause me a degree of psychic damage. It's one of my favourite things. Like, we go to, like I mentioned, my partner is a art historian, and we go to like art museums, and she's like looking at the artistry and like the historical value of all this thing. And I'm just like, that's a fucking weird one, isn't it? That's a fucking weird Jesus. All right, let's see what else we've got in the tank here. What other Jesuses are around? What's this one? That's not very interesting. Oh, this is a weird one. This is a very like relaxed Jesus. And this is like this Jesus. What's this Jesus' job? This Jesus is a consultant for the Conservative Party, who's recently said that the only way to really help those refugees is to make sure that we police the border more. And this Mary, I think this is Mary, is like, really? Are you sure that's the case? Are you sure that we can't think of anything better? And he's like, no way to really sort this out. Immigration crisis is with properly policed borders. And Mary's like, Mary, okay. What this is a have I got news for you joke. This is a visual representation of the coalition government in the UK between 2010 and 2015. These are the Tories. You would think that the babies would be the Lib Dems, but you know, because they're Jesus, they're the more important ones in the coalition. This is the Tories, and this is the Lib Dems. And the Lib Dems are like, are we sure we're going to do this evil stuff? And the Tories here are like, of course we're going to do this evil stuff. Blah, 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 blah. That's what this representation was made for. All right. Well, let's next. I'm determined to find the Toby Jones Jesus because he's my favourite one. I can't find him. What's this one? This one's full on, man. Oh yeah, that's a man. That is a man. Yeah. That guy. Where does this guy work? Where does this Jesus work? Taking pictures from the audience. That meme about welfare cuts in return for plastic bag charges lives rent free in my head. Yeah, I was 16 when the Tory Lib Dem coalition came in, and it makes me sad that for the entirety of my life, basically my entire adult life, we've accepted, New Labour were bad, but there's something like particularly pernicious about the Lib Dem coalition that makes me just sad. This Jesus isn't sales. That is right. 100%. Yeah, this Jesus works selling maybe like an estate agent. I'm thinking this is an estate agent Christ. Yeah, like he's not as bad as like the Tory party one. Like he's not got good politics and he's involved in some bad shit. But like if you chatted to him, you'd just be like, oh, he's a normal guy. He's a normal man, an innocent man. He just wants to like sell houses, and it's like, yeah, you meet him in the pub and you're like, mate, like, do you not think what you're doing is like, I don't know, not on, is a bit immoral? And he's like, yeah, man, but like, I have to make a living. I don't know what else to do. And you're like, yeah, I guess so, but like, just have a think about it. That's what this Jesus is up to. Like, he's got like a family, he's got a wife and kids to look after. Gets high but votes no on drug reform. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. These Jesus are normal men. All right, we're gonna the moment the chat gets bored with this. What? Why is there a Santa Claus here? And we've reached a point where they're not even baby Jesuses anymore. What's this one? Oh! See, the thing is, this just reminds me of the cat. This Jesus just does what my cat does. When I'm picking, I hold my cat like this, and he just sometimes goes. They have the same birthday. Yeah, of course. That's so miserable for Santa Claus has to work on his own birthday. Fuck that. The one day of a year he has to work and it's his own birthday. That fucking sucks. Nobody likes having their birthday on Christmas. I used to date someone whose birthday was on Christmas, and it was like, it made them sad. Do you want to, like, take a look at the legs? Oops. those legs. They're long legs. That's long legs for a Jesus. Can we zoom right in? Let's zoom in his face. Let's see. Let's get some bigness on this face. She just can't. Like, that is a single mother. Just a single mom. Doesn't know how to deal with this shit. Just every day. Every day is like the son of God, and there's the son of God. It's like, I'm the son of God. What are you gonna do about it, mate? Touching your face. Touching your face. I'm the son of God. What are you gonna do about it? You gonna tell my dad to me? Well, he is me, so fuck. So fuck you, I'm gonna touch whatever I want. I'm Jesus. I can touch your face. I can touch any face. I think this might be the worst one. I think this is the worst Jesus that we've come across. Like, just in terms of personality, I think this one's just an evil bastard. He's just like a bit of an asshole. And do the roar. Alright, let's see. Ooh, that's a very fancy Jesus. Oh God. I'll tell you what. With this Jesus, I have never in my life been this upset. Never in my life have been this upset when I've been near a cow. And this cow knows what's up. This cow's like, look, everybody likes being around me. I'm lovely. Like, I'm a good lad. I like being a cow. And being a cow as a curious animal, one of God's most curious animals. I accept that everybody just loves being around me. Because who doesn't? Who doesn't like being around a cow? And then here comes fucking X-Men senator who gets turned into goop Jesus. To be like, I don't like this cow. I don't like being near this cow. You're like, come on, fucking hell, Jesus. Get a grip. Like, this Jesus does not know he's living. Like, you've got 33 years of this shit, baby. And if you can't enjoy the little things, like being near a cow, then what's the fucking point? What's the fucking point in saving mankind if you can't enjoy a cow? Like, there's no point, is there? The cow is the star of this picture. Let's get back onto the cow, because, you know. Oh, that's much better. There we go. There we go, that's much better. Okay. We'll do one more Jesus, and then I promise I'll talk about something else. I could do this and I have done this for several hours, but I won't because I respect you, my audience, too much. Oh, God, there's some crackers that we could pick. There is some weird little guys. Oh God, there's some weird little guys. Oh, okay, let's get this. This is a weird one. Oh, are you ready? Normal face. Ah! This looks like Boris Johnson. Why does this baby Jesus look like Boris Johnson? Oh, this is amazing.
Oh, I'm Jesus Christ. I really believe that we have the important duty to bring Britain forth onto the world stage. And I, of course, speak fluent ancient Greek. Dominate.
Why are we still on this? Because I was having a good time. I did say I promised you it was the last one. Literally the only reason is I got carried away because it was fun. Hey, look, registered boy moder. If you want to ask anything, and if you want a serious question or any topic that you want to chat about, you can fucking go for it, because right now it's Jesus o'clock, and you know the bell is ringing. Wow. Good. I mean, that I think this might be the most evil Jesus that we've come across. Just something deeply pernicious about this facial expression. That is upsetting to such a profound degree. Yeah, this is the baby Jesus who would conspire with other members of the government to beat up a journalist, which is what Boris Johnson did. He did conspire with people to have a journalist attacked and beaten up for asking questions that Boris Johnson did not like the answer to. Those little hands, the hands are bad. They are bad, aren't they? I don't like the hands. I don't like what they're reaching for. I don't like the implication of the hands. I don't like the smile. I don't like the hair. I don't like. Tell you what I don't like. The feared expression of this Mary. She's like, fucking hell. Fucking hell. I am upset about what the Son of God is. And he's like, immigrants and I hate all these people. And she's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, what means? She's like, no, I mean, just Jesus Christ is an expression.
There's an expression.
This might be the dumbest stream I've ever done. Yeah, this is the dumbest stream I've done. Okay, well, let's put the baby Jesuses to bed, and we can get back to some normal shit. I cannot remember how we got onto that, why we got onto that, or what's going on. Yeah. How about a team of baby Jesus, ex-Jesus? Anyway, that's a pretty close approximation to what it's like going through an art gallery with me. I wish I had the knowledge of art to offer interesting, informative takes. I've read John Berger. I've read it. I know that there are things that you can say about art and you know, the world and the material history of things. But I also just think it's fun to walk around an art gallery and look at the expressions on people's faces and just be like, the audio is so good today. Oh man, like the audio and the camera on the last video, I don't know what happened. Like from now on, I'm gonna be using this microphone for videos, just because the audio quality is just astronomically better, and people are just gonna have to cope with a microphone being on the screen. But like even the camera quality in the last video just ended up being, I don't know what happened, accidentally, just really good. It was like things just conspired to make the production quality of the last video be what you would expect someone who's been doing this for 4 years to be. So yeah, I'm glad of how that turned out. There are no invalid ways to engage with art except maybe that one. I reject that. I take joy in seeing these baby Jesuses and their weird little faces and just having fun with it. Just being you know what's fun? You're in an art gallery and you see like 18th century, like 18th century works of art which are commissioned by really rich people, often slavers in the case of the UK, and just like looking at how fucking evil their faces are, just like the imperious smiles and the sort of the worlds in which they inhabit, and just like being like, you, I bet you were a dickhead. Most of us are here for the words. I mean, like, I don't know. I assumed that not to blame thoughts, but when I started doing this, I think Thoughtsline might have released their video on how to make YouTube videos like 2 weeks before I started doing it, and one of the recommendations was just a lav mic, and I just always did that. I just always assumed that was better. And then there's like situations like it's genuinely just harder to get this microphone to where I normally film than it would otherwise be. So I just resisted using the good microphone for a long time and thought that the lav mic would be fine. Yeah, and then it's just so much better using this. For a long time I did have a worse microphone. Oh, medieval cat faces. I love medieval cat faces. One of my favourite Twitter accounts is dedicated to just posting out images of medieval cat faces. And I just think it's beautiful that over the years, even if they're not like explicitly being dickheads, cats have always been interpreted as being dickheads. And we remember the worst microphone. Yeah, the worst microphone was bad. Look, I'm trying my best. I have my talents are not in audio engineering. What was I saying? Cats are dickheads. Yeah, cats are dickheads, and dogs are just like fun little guys. That's the two genders, dickhead and fun little guy, where do you fall? The writing's always where it's been at. It's like, the audio is like a mystery to me. It's like, frankly, it's the same with bigger YouTubers who consistently have better audio. I've been round to theirs and been like, how do you do your audio? And they're like, fuck man, like, we have a setup, we fucked around with it, and it seems to be working for now, and we do not touch it. And nobody knows what they're doing. Ooh. Oh no, husband is put on QT. Oh, question time? Your husband is put on question time. That wouldn't be fun. The thing about YouTubers is none of us know what we're doing. Like, if someone has training in, like, there are a couple of YouTubers who do have like training in like filmmaking and audio processing and things like that. But not many of us do. And it is just like, it is difficult. It's just hard. Hey, if you use my videos to sleep, I do not take that the wrong way at all. I fall asleep to interesting stuff all the time. I'm just glad that you're listening. Hey, a view's a view, man. A view's a view. Oh man, question time. I've not watched Question Time. For Americans who don't know, Question Time is like, I don't know why I assumed anyone who wasn't British was American. For anyone who doesn't know, who's not British, Question Time is a show where you get like journalists, politicians, and usually one pop culture figure to come on, and the audience is made up of members of the public, and it's awful. It's really awful. It's there's been several scandals of the BBC weighing the audience with conservative opinions, with people who have been involved in Conservative Party politics, as in like former councillors, and all the such. Oftentimes the panel is weighted in favour. Almost always the panel is weighted in favour of right-wing interests, and it's the worst. I cannot watch it. It makes me too angry. Instant Fugitive. Good production takes a lot of work. Checklist of people. That's one. So when I was doing that interview with Sophie. Sophie doesn't have like a super like overboard setup by any means, because she's not working with loads either. But just that, having someone to work with her to like produce a video, to make a video, I don't have anyone to do that. I can't do that. It's just a lot more helpful to have just one other person around to do things like check that the camera's focused, check that the audio isn't peaking, and things like that. I'm still live. I stay live for about 3 hours. That's normally what happens. Oh no. Matthew Said tonight representing things other than pop. Okay.
I'm of the pogging. We spent about 30 minutes talking about medieval portraits of Jesus and how they're all weird little guys. So we've had a pretty informative time. We'll probably stick around for another 10 minutes or so, and then if anyone's not got any more burning questions or anything they would like to talk about, I might do one more tune, and then we'll use that as the last tune. I'll again put on the last Ableton tune I've been working on when we end, but we'll stick around for another like 10 minutes. So that's fun. Someone asked if I'd played Baldur's Gate yet. I haven't. It's on my list to play next. I have to finish. Playing Tears of the Kingdom first, which basically involves me just finding the rest of the shrines, and then on my list next is Baldur's Gate. I have slightly more time now. I'm on the job hunt. Like since finishing the PhD, I have slightly more time. I now only have 2 jobs instead of 3. So between job hunting, writing a paper, doing YouTube, and anything else, doing fucking editing for a journal, I want to get round to playing Baldur's Gate 3 as well. I'm trying to avoid. I've watched bits and pieces of my flatmate playing it, but I don't remember, so I'm trying to avoid some spoilers of the game. I don't know how successful it'll be, but yeah, I want to get around to it. I recently had a teacher talk about a take by some economists claiming globalization is ending. So there is a notion that the pandemic highlighted some weaknesses in global supply chains and value chains to imperial powers. That certain industries, namely I think defence and energy, and some manufacturing would begin to be insourced. The example in the UK that is being used is there was a steel manufacturing plant that was nationalised about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and that has been used as an example of globalisation ending. I think the notion that globalisation is ending is utterly farcical. The moment that global production becomes, in any sense, overwhelmingly insourced, in that, I don't. Britain, the US, we're not going to start manufacturing iPhones. We're not going to start manufacturing, being the brunt of the manufacturing industry in the world. It's just not going to happen. Not without massive revolutionary action that would change the entire makeup of society. So I think there is a limited sense to which globalization, particular industries might be insourced, but the notion that globalization is ending is what I would call a reach, a bit of a farce. There's one of the impacts of working in academia and working in think tanks is that you need to be saying something new all the time, because if you're just repeating something, there's no value in that. You are not going to get published. But if you are the person who says globalization is ending, and you're like, oh, I don't mean globalize, I don't mean that, all these connections and blah 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 blah, but you frame it in a very particular sense, then you can be the person who gets the credit for coming up with a theory. And that doesn't really add to knowledge, it's just obscuring things for progression within the academy. I think a lot of that gets done. And there's a similar sort of trend within the end of neoliberalism kind of discussion. And in that particular case, it's annoying because there are worthwhile conversations to be had about the impacts of climate change on neoliberalism, on the ways in which the state interacts with the market, and things like the demonstrable failure of the of privatization in certain areas, like water privatization, sewage privatization, things like that. Clear failures that even the financial world seems to be aware of. And there are questions about what these failures mean for a hegemony like neoliberalism. But certain academics, certain think tankers, certain people who make their living off of being the people who say things, have been declaring the end of neoliberalism for about 15 years now. And they've been constantly shifting about what that means, what that says, what happens, what a future, post-neoliberal future would look like. And it makes it hard to actually analyse what's going on. I don't think neoliberalism is ending, but I think it's a valuable question to be like, what's going on here? But when every sort of, I find myself doing this, and it's like a new thing happens, and someone goes, "It's the end of neoliberalism." I'm like, "Oh, fuck off!" And that sort of moment of going, "Oh, fuck off," stops me from being like, so let's take a look at what's happening right now. And in my view, like, what's happening is a more overt shifting to state guidance of capital investment, which is not necessarily anti-neoliberal, but is much more in the ordo-liberal strain. And if you watch my video from way back about authoritarian neoliberalism, which was about like the Biden-Trump campaign, and as well as the Death of Neoliberalism video, I talk a bit about the ordo-liberal strain, where where like this notion, ordo-liberalism is a strain of neoliberalism which is much more involved, where the state is much more involved in like guiding the market, guiding capitalism to maintain itself. And I think these are interesting questions which aren't getting... Wartime neoliberalism is the way that Trash Future talk about it, yeah. And I think I still have disagreements with how they conceptualize it. Because like, you know, my particular theoretical perspectives. I think that it leaves us with some questions that need answering. Oh, Lizard, now you're fine. Don't worry about it. I'm just splaffing away. I'm just talking shite. I'm bottle of wine deep, and we've spent 30 minutes talking about Jesus. So don't worry about your comments being 30 seconds late. All right. Okay. So we will draw this to a close here. Unless there's any sound off in the next 30 seconds, if there's any burning questions. Otherwise, we will draw this to a close. I will again put on the latest of my Ableton noodlings, my latest Ableton song that I'm working on, as we draw to a close. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, and good to be streaming again. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks, unless there's anything, like I say. Yeah, and the intensifying of what's the wine? The wine was 1 second. The wine was Vigna Sol. It was a vegan wine. It didn't have much in the way of description. It said fresh, fruity and dry, and then it said in German frisch, fruchtig and trocken, and then it said in, I think, French, fries, fruite et sec, and it was vegan, and it wasn't very nice when I started, but it was nice as we went on. And to Lizard, yeah, your last point. Yeah, there's like my first paper was on the likelihood of austerity maintaining itself post like lockdowns and things like that, and that is exactly what happened. Yeah. All right, so I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Let me get this music on. And yeah, cheers. See you in 2 weeks. Thank you.